Since my last bug out bag video, things have changed quite a bit, and I've updated my systems thanks to a lot of the feedback from you all in the comments section of that video. In that process, I also developed some additional bug out systems that allow me to load shed without sacrificing every aspect of survival that I find to be necessary. So I wanted to share these updates and these systems with you all to give you some ideas about how to build out your own bug out bag system. And of course, Midway USA is the biggest sponsor of the channel, and a lot of what we're going to talk about today can be found through Midway USA. So a big thanks to them for helping me out with this project. But honestly, all your feedback was invaluable, so feel free to give me more of that on this video. Now, I tried to develop a tier system for load shedding to make the most sense while still having as much capability as possible if I have to start ditching weight. And it's a tier-based system, and we have tier 1, tier 2, we have tier 3 in the bag, and then the bag itself is basically tier 4. Being the heaviest aspect of this entire system. So we're going to talk about the bag first, which I did in fact change thanks to a lot of your feedback. Originally, I had a lot of stuff strapped to the outside of my bag, so I changed that. I switched over to the Tasmanian Tiger Mil Ops 80 plus 24 bag. Now this is a much larger bag, but it allows me to store everything inside of it, which means there's less snag hazards and there's less likelihood of losing gear. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the bag, because it's the first thing I would ditch because it's the heaviest component. So we'll go ahead and take off the bag, and then I will show you the bag itself as well as the insides to let you know what's stashed away, and we'll talk about everything else related to these systems in the meantime. All right, so here we have the Tasmanian Tiger Mil Ops 80 plus 24. It's a very large bag, it's durable, and it's very modular, so I like it quite a bit. Now, full disclosure, Tasmanian Tiger sent this bag to me after I bought some of their other products and I was impressed with them. I actually reached out to see if they'd want to work together on some projects, and they actually said yes. So that's where this bag came from, but you can find this exact bag at Midway USA, which is also very beneficial. So on the outside, you have quite a bit of modularity, and it's a very large bag, 80-liter capacity. And on the sides here, you can see there's actually MOLLE webbing right here, which allows you to attach additional pouches, and it comes with two 12-liter pouches, which is where the plus 24 comes from. Now, I didn't use those pouches because in all honesty, this bag's already very heavy, and I didn't need the additional storage, but it does have it in case you need it. And I do like the load bearing system quite a bit. Now, it has an internal aluminum frame, and it's very adjustable to fit just about any size person in order to get this bag on your back, which I think is very beneficial. So let's get a little bit closer. I'll show you everything I have on the outside of the bag, which is very minimal compared to what it used to be. And then we'll open it up and I'll start showing you the insides as well. All right, here's the bag close up, and let's talk about anything that's on the outside of the bag first. Now, on this side, if you were someone who guessed that this was an AR-15, then you were correct. So the whole point here to use this cover on the firearm is just to make it more discreet if I do decide I need to stow it, and maybe I need to go through an area where having an AR-15 wouldn't necessarily be welcome, let's just say. Now I still have access to it. So the buttstock fits into this elastic pocket, no problem at all. And then obviously there's plenty of strapping here on the side in order to secure it. So honestly, works very well for that. Of course, this is an 11.3-inch barrel, which kind of allows everything to fit in such a way that it's not so obtrusive and not so easily identified. So that's what I've got in the side here, but generally, of course, you're going to have your rifle slung on your body. It just depends on the situation, and I like having the option to stow it on the bag if I need to. So it does allow you to do that with this bag, which I thought was very cool. So go ahead and move the AR out of the way. All right, next is going to be helmet pouch, which you see right here. So what goes in a helmet pouch? Well, you can put a jacket, a raincoat, or if you're like me, you can just go ahead and put a helmet. So straps in right here. And it's got these plastic shields right here on the side, which is kind of nice because it gives it a little bit more protection and creates more of like a rigid envelope to put over the helmet or whatever else you're going to store in here. And then here's my helmet. Now, why am I bringing this? Well, if we're bugging out and things are dangerous enough to where I'm bringing a rifle, which if I'm bugging out on foot because vehicles are no longer an option and I have to get somewhere that's relatively far away, yeah, I think a rifle is going to be kind of important. So the helmet comes with me. Now, this isn't actually a helmet. This is really just for mounting night vision, but that allows me to move at night if need be without having a lot of issues. So that's why I've got the helmet here. And then inside the helmet is a new pouch from Nightline Inc., which is a company that I work with. And of course, if you call them and go through the process to acquire things that allow you to see in the dark, Well, guess what? You'll get 15% off if you mention Magic Prepper. So I wanted to mention that, but this is a new pouch they put out for specifically carrying around your night vision equipment. So I'll show you what's in the pouch here in just a minute. All right, so here's the new night vision pouch from Nightline, and this thing is pretty nice. It can be converted into a fanny pack, or it can be webbed onto something that has MOLLE webbing. So it gives you a lot of options there. And basically, obviously, this is for housing things like night vision equipment. So we have a battery panel right there. Inside here, it's actually a really thin pocket that allows you to put things like additional 2032s or something along those lines in there. Okay. And then in here you can see we've got a PVS 14, and I'm only bringing one because I had to shave weight off this whole system in order to make it feasible. So one PVS 14, but allows me to see in the dark. We've got a power bank so that I can keep small electronics up and running, like my phone or my radio, depending on the situation. And then in here I've got a battery charger in case I can get down to like the bare minimum rechargeables, I can get them going, and a wall dongle so I can recharge this power bank or whatever else I have if I come across something where I can use that. And of course, a couple of these CR123s right here are rechargeable for that charger. And then in the front here with the zipper panel, we actually have all the cables we're gonna need. And there's just a whole bunch of different cables in there. I don't know if you can see them all, but I'm gonna just pull them out real quick for you. Lots of different USBs for lots of different functions. So this is my electronics package. It has everything I need for electronics except for that solar panel, but that's stored in the same location. So that way it's all in the same area, allows me to access it quickly and get everything up and running if it runs low on batteries or requires additional charge. So that's what's in this night vision bag. PVS 14, huge component for that. So that way I can move at night if need be, or see in the dark, or whatever it is I got to do with it. So wanted to share that with you all, and then we'll move on to the rest of the bag. And then other than the helmet and the pouch with the night vision equipment, as well as some other electronics, we have the Off-Grid Trek solar panel right here. Now, I'll put links down below in the comments as well as in the description for a lot of this stuff, because I do have discounts and things like that. But if you don't need this stuff, then don't get it, obviously. But I do like to at least provide that opportunity if it's something that you're looking for. So on this part of the panel here, you can see there's bungee, which is nice for being able to secure something like this folding solar panel. But there's also MOLLE webbing, and you can remove this helmet cover completely if you'd like, and then attach additional pouches or anything else you'd rather have here on the front. So this gives you a lot of mounting options, which I find to be very beneficial. But generally I'm just using most of the bag the way it came, because it kind of just works for my purposes regardless. So go ahead and close this up real quick, and then I will show you the one last thing that's on the outside of the bag. Like I said, I try to keep it very minimal this time around without strapping anything to it, and I think I did a pretty good job here. And right here in the other elastic pouch, which is just a mirror image of the other side, which is nice in case you want the rifle on this side instead, or whatever else you're going to strap to the side of the bag, you have the access to do that. This pouch has a rain cover for the bag. This is an old Eberly stock rain cover I have that's multicam, but it works on this bag as well because it's one of the larger ones. So it works, it's easily accessible. So if it starts to rain, I can quickly deploy the rain cover if need be, and it fits in this pouch very, very well. And of course, it's obviously water resistant, so it doesn't really matter that's on the outside of the bag, but I will want to cover the bag quickly in order to protect anything inside, as well as the things here in the helmet pouch that are electronic. So that's why I have this on the outside of the bag. We have obviously the load bearing panel here, which works very well. And then on the top here, you actually have a lid that has some storage too. So I'm just going to show you that. Okay. Obviously you could store things underneath the lid right here if you'd like. There's a zipper right here. There's a zipper right here. There's a zipper right here. There's a lot of storage. I'm going to zoom in closer so you can see everything that's actually inside the bag. And down here you have your sleeping bag with additional lashings here on the bottom in case you need to attach anything there. But in all reality, this is a very large pack, and I can carry quite a bit with it. Now I'm wondering how many of you are asking the question right now, how much does this whole loadout weigh? Well, I'll tell you at the end of the video how much everything weighs, rifle included, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here and what might be reasonable if you're bugging out on your own and you have to get somewhere relatively far and you're not sure if you'll actually end up there or not. So let's move on to the inside of the bag. All right, so let's start with the sleeping bag pouch, just because it's nice to have a dedicated pouch for that, since it is a very bulky item. And it goes in the bottom of the bag like you would expect. And here we have it. In here we've got a snug pack. Well, this is the dry sack, but this is their Tactical 3 bag, which is supposed to be down to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and can go lower, of course, with layering. And where I live, that's a pretty common temperature to run into. So that's why I have this particular sleeping bag. I could go lighter, of course, but for where I live, it just makes sense to have something that's somewhat winter capable because it's cold here more often than it's warm. So moving on from there, we'll get into the main compartment. Now, one thing I really like about this bag is that it has a lot of different ways to get into it. So first off, go ahead and unclip these. And we have a zipper system right here, which allows us to pull it wide open and kind of see what's inside the clamshell. Now from the top, you can actually use the snow skirt and get everything out that way too. So there's a lot of options here, but we'll start with the bottom just to kind of give you an idea of what's in here, and then I'll pull everything else out the top that won't necessarily come out otherwise. So right here on top, I've got rations. Now, these are some broken down MREs as well as one ration bar. And basically my bug out journey would last around 7 days. So this is kind of like a bare minimum amount of food for that, but who knows if I'll actually eat it all or not, it just depends. But I also can't guarantee I'll make it to my bug out location. So I wanted to have food that doesn't require any cooking. If I'm literally walking to this location and I'm carrying a rifle and night vision and everything else because things are getting dangerous, guess what? There's a good chance I don't want to make a fire. So if I don't have to make a fire to eat the food I have with me, then it's worth the additional weight to carry that type of food. So that's what I have here, broken down MREs and a ration bar, just because it's a lot of calories, it's very dense, and it has a 5-year shelf life. Now, moving on from the food, let's see. In the bottom here, we actually have the sleep shelter. You've all seen that before in the last video. That's a snug pack, the Scorpion 3, which is like a dome style tent with an inner and an outer shell. And honestly, it weighs about 5 pounds, so it's a little heavy, but it all fits in the bag no problem. Before I had it strapped to the outside of the bag, now it's inside. Same with the sleeping bag. So we're upgrading in life, right? Now I have this shelter system for a couple reasons. One, where I live, it's kind of nice to have additional shelter rather than just having like a bivvy or a woobie or something like that. But the other thing is that for when I get to where I'm going, it will be nice to have some autonomy, and then having an actual tent versus having something like a bivvy allows me to have basically like a room or even a home, right? It gives you somewhere to store some of your things, have a little bit of security, have a little bit of privacy. So to me, it was worth the extra weight. Now, if I was doing some kind of, I don't know, a mission, let's just call it, or recon of some sort, I wouldn't be carrying the sleep system like I am. But because I don't know if I'll end up where I need to be, and I do know that if I do end up where I need to be, I won't have any of my own private area. It'll be nice to bring some with me. So that's why I have an actual tent. Now, plus it's North Dakota, it gets to -30 here. There's a lot of reasons, don't worry about it, all right? Now, here we have clothes. This is one full change of clothes in a dry sack, just because for weight restriction reasons, can't really carry much more, but this is all very packable and this is very lightweight. So this is shirt, pants, underwear, and socks, good to go. All one big change of clothes here. And then we have the sleeping pad with the sleeping pillow in here as well. Both are inflatable. Now these have a tendency to be more fragile than some of the foam pads, but they're more dense, they're easier to pack, and it allows me to get it inside of the bag instead of having to strap it to the outside, which I was trying to avoid as much as possible. So that's why I have the inflatable one. Not to mention this is the insulated model, and like I said, it gets cold here. So this will just allow me to have some separation between me and the ground while also being able to fit inside of the bag. So, and we'll talk about a repair kit here a little bit later, I promise you. Now we also have tent stakes. Of course, you're gonna need those. I also have the tent poles here, which are inside of the bag. Notice everything's inside the bag. Yeah, I broke the tent down from being in one large bag together, but this allows me to store it all properly. One of the heaviest components in this bag right now is actually this E-tool right here. Now this is a German military surplus E-tool, and the reason that I'm sacrificing the weight for carrying this with me is because if I need it, it's nice to have something a little bit more legitimate than just like a little trowel or something. So this is legitimate German military E-tool, and honestly, this thing is pretty wild. It's durable, and it has a lot of weight. This thing weighs about 3 pounds. So the whole point though behind this is that I'll have it wherever I'm going, which means I'll have a decent tool with me no matter what, and I can use it along the way for just about anything I need to, including self-defense if it comes down to that. But I've got other tools for that. Either way, this gives me an option, and I think having an E-tool will be more important than some of the other things we've already discussed, even such as maybe the solar panel, right? So You have to prioritize based on weight, but you also have to prioritize based on practicality. And I have a feeling that this e-tool is going to become extremely practical very quickly in a situation where vehicles are no longer an option and I'm literally walking to a bug out location, because honestly, that's like the last, of course, I'm going to do this all backwards while on video. There we go. That's like the last thing I want to have to do. So moving on from there, and hey, quick tip, this is actually Milsurp from Midway USA. Check it out. All right. Next is water. Now I try to keep water relatively high and close to your back because it is heavy, and this strap system in here allows me to do that. So I've got two 64-liter canteens in here. These are the flat ones, and then what this does is create a gallon of water. So I've got 1 gallon of water in the bag. Now I can actually separate these two if I decide to and have a dirty water one and a filtered water one, and we'll talk about water treatment here later on, but this is so I can carry additional water with me. You really can't ever have enough water. There's plenty of water along the route to my bug out location, but a gallon is like bare minimum, at least in my opinion, because you never know when you're gonna run across water again or if you're gonna get displaced or who knows what. So having water and in hard containers. I avoided the bladder this time around. I'm not using a water bladder because we're talking about a bug out situation that's probably gonna turn into something long term, and I wanted canteens that are gonna last and actually be able to hold up to some type of long-term emergency. So wanted those instead of a bladder, that's why I got them. Now in here you'll see that there's actually a bunch of mounting points and straps inside of the bag. And what's nice about that is I use these straps in order to secure the water towards the back and kind of hold that weight into the frame. But this is actually designed for military radios. So you're supposed to be able to throw one of those large boxy military radios for any type of communications equipment inside of this bag. So that's kind of cool, but you can take all of it out. You don't have to leave it in there, so it gives you those options, which I like quite a bit. Now, let's go ahead and move to the top just so you can kind of see how that works. So we have the snow skirt right here, which allows you to kind of protect everything from water and rain and snow a little bit more. And then you also have another tie down right here, which helps kind of cinch everything up together. And then in the very top right here, we have what will be line number 3 in our system. So we'll talk about this in just a little bit, but this is a heavy component, but it's something that has a lot of capability, and it's something that I will be able to take out of this bag and keep on me in case I have to ditch the rest of the bag. So we'll move on to that here right after we're done with the bag in total, and I'll explain that to you. All right, and then we have the lid. So the lid itself has a few different compartments. Let's see, one is right here in the front. Okay, so right here we have a repair kit. So this has repair kit materials for the tent itself as well as for the sleeping pad. So having a repair kit of sorts is always good to have, of course, especially when you're talking about anything that's like vinyl. And then I also have a strap that's for the chest rig I was wearing earlier, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. And this strap is so that I can convert that into a shoulder bag rather than a chest rig if need be. So I'm just gonna throw that back in here so I don't lose track of that. And now we have the top of the lid, okay? Well, actually, let's start with the inside of the lid. There's one more zipper right here, if you can't tell, because there's just so many zippers on this lid. And in here at the very top is some rain gear. Now this is actually a Czechoslovakian Milsurp poncho. It's very large. You can wear this on top of the backpack as well and you're still good to go. And it has sleeves, so it's not just one large poncho. It actually has sleeves for your arms and everything too, with a hood. So this allows me to cover myself as well as the backpack under one poncho, and it only weighs about 1 pound. Compared to trying to bring actual rain gear like pants and a jacket, it's just asking a lot when it comes to weight. And this is also relatively durable. It's made out of vinyl, of course, but it is Milsurp, so it has some level of quality to it. And I have that right here towards the top in case I need to quickly get myself out of the rain. So that allows me to put that on and wear it over the backpack, which I find to be beneficial. And then right here on the top, we have a main compartment. Okay. And now what I have in here are things that I would need like reasonably quickly or just on a regular basis. So we have wipes. Obviously, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom in the woods or on your route or whatever it is. At some point, you're gonna have to use these for something. So I have wipes easily accessible right here in the top. I also have some additional socks. These are merino wool. And then I have some gloves. Now these are pretty thin gloves, but they still have a little bit of insulation. It allows me to protect my hands if I'm doing any kind of work in the woods or something like that, or I'm having to pick up something that might not be extremely sanitary, who knows what else. But this gives me some gloves, and they also provide some protection from the elements for my hands. And those are right here in the top. And then I also have toiletries. So we've got a little bit of deodorant, some baby powder. Now, depending on the environment, would I use these things? It just depends. Am I worried about sills in the sense of somebody smelling my deodorant or smelling my baby powder? I mean, like I said, it's very dependent on what's going on and what's causing this bug out scenario to occur. But if that's the case, then I just won't use them. But I have them, and especially the baby powder, for keeping me up and running in case things get a little bit wet down yonder. And we also have a toothbrush, toothpaste, and some of these, I think these are called Bravo Sierra shower wipes. They're basically just gigantic baby wipes that you can just wash off with. And then I do have a little razor here that I chop down in order to maintain a decent shave if I need to, and I can go build Duke's Predator style all over it. So that is what's in the bag. And now it's very empty. And like I said, there's very little strap to the outside of the bag. And you can tell it's very open, it's very modular, gives you a lot of options. And in all reality, I mean, it's just a nice, well-constructed bag. So if you're looking for a good bug out bag, the Tasmanian Tiger Millops 80+24 is a good bag. It's been a good bag for me. It's very adjustable. It's very comfortable, even with this much weight. I really have nothing negative to say about it. So if you want to check it out, please do. And then let's talk about that level 3 system that I told you we talk about here in a minute that I took out of the bag that was, you know, also OD green. All right, so things got a little bit crazy and you had to ditch the ruck. It was just too heavy and we got to move quickly, and maybe it's dangerous and we have to respond to some sort of threat. Either way, you drop the bag, you pull out what's called the Midway USA bailout bag, which I have right here on my hip. It's a shoulder bag that has a belt loop on it to attach to your belt to make it secure to your hip, and it has a lot of functionality. So now we're down to line 1, which is down here now, converted from a shoulder bag to a fanny pack. We have line 2 right here with the chest rig, and we have line 3 right here with the bailout bag, while still maintaining our rifle as well. So let's talk about what's in the bailout bag and why it's line 3 and why it's the next item I would get rid of if I had to keep shedding a load. All right, so here we have the Midway USA bailout bag, and they asked me if I wanted to try any of their bags, and I specifically asked for this one because it has a lot of functionality. It has the shoulder strap that I showed you before, and then on the back here, you have the waist strap, which is a belt keeper. So this just goes around your belt and helps keep this bag glued to your hip when you're wearing it like a shoulder bag, which helps with mobility and it not swinging all over the place. So I like that a lot. Now, what's the point of this bag? This is a weapon sustainment system. So this bag is supposed to go in conjunction with your rifle and help you keep that weapon up and running. So it may or may not be necessary. You could either remove the bag to save some weight, or if you have to drop the ruck, you can bring the bag in case you need to keep the rifle going and you don't have all the extra weight of the ruck. So there's a lot of functionality here. Now, on the front, we have some magazine pouches. Now, in this pouch right here, we have 2 backup AR-15 magazines, but those are the only backup mags in the system because of weight constraints. In this pouch right here, I've actually got a thermal monocular, and this is an ATN OTS XLT. This is a entry-level thermal, but it does the basic job of letting me see things I wouldn't otherwise be able to see. And if it was nighttime, this would be on my person and would be switched out for a daytime monocular. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that is what's in this pouch. So go ahead and put that back. And then over here, we have a Silky Saw Pocket Boy, and that's in here because it helps me maintain it. There's not really anywhere in the main ruck in order to keep this so that it's still somewhere I know where it is. So it's in here. It's also just a good tool to have. So if I do have to ditch the ruck, I still would like to have this with me. And then I also have some MRE cookies in here as just like a snack in case I do ditch the ruck. This allows me to still have some food on my person. So that's what's in these front pouches right here. Now, it has 2 identical pouches on the sides, and both of them have MOLLE webbing, but I don't need to expand it, so I'm not using the MOLLE, but I do have things in the pouches. Now, on this side, we have a Real Avid cleaning kit. And the reason I chose this kit was because it comes with a traditional cleaning rod, which then allows me to remove stuck casings or anything of that nature. So it's a full-on cleaning system. And I also have some spare parts in here. This is the AR Stoner Field Repair Kit for AR-15s, and it has all the springs, and it has a firing pin and all kinds of stuff in here that you might need to replace for your AR-15 to keep up and running in the field. So I threw that kit in here with this, and this will help me out quite a bit when it comes to keeping that weapon system up and running. So, got the Real Avid cleaning kit here. Now I'll go ahead and show you the other side. Okay, like I said, identical pocket. and this is going to be ears and eyes. So in here I've got some Gator's ballistic rated lenses, as well as some hearing protection from Surefire. This is their in-ear hearing protection. And these are some Gator Spectres that are ballistic rated. Honestly, it sounds silly, but you're gonna want eye protection if you're worried about having to use systems like your rifle. So I wanna be able to protect my eyes, and I wanna be able to use hearing protection if I decide it's necessary. I don't know if it necessarily will be, but I have the option and it weighs almost nothing, so I threw it in there anyway. Plus, that hearing protection from Surefire can actually integrate with your comm system. So it is what it is. Now, main pocket, okay. In here, I've got a full-blown IFAK. Now, this is a Bear Fac from Refuge Medical, and this has everything you would want in it. It has antibiotics, Band-Aids, antihistamines, antidiarrheals, which you'll definitely need. So have some stomach medicine in here. And then it has all your blowout trauma kit stuff as well. You got a tourniquet here on the side, you've got shears on the side. It's got everything you'd expect from a fully blown IFAK and more. So this is in the weapon sustainment system, because if I have to grab this and ditch my ruck, and I'm using my rifle, then I probably need a way to patch myself or somebody else up. So this is in here so that I have this with me instead of leaving it with the ruck, because I find this to be very important, of course. And then in here, I also have some additional water filters. This is a spare filter for my Grail water filter, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but this allows me to double the capacity of its filtration ability. And then I also have the Sawyer Mini in here as well, in order to have a redundant water filtration system. And this allows me to keep more water flowing throughout a difficult situation. So that's what's in the weapon sustainment package. There's a lot of functionality here, but it's also very heavy. So I can ditch this if I need to, or I can bring it with me and ditch the ruck. It gives me a lot of options, and that's why I like it quite a bit. So let's move on to the next line that we have to discuss, which will be line number 2. All right, so now we're all the way down to line 1, which I reconverted to a shoulder bag, and line 2, which is the chest rig you see right here. And of course, I still have the rifle as well, and the chest rig actually does have some sustainment for the rifle system, but will I have the rifle? We don't know, but hopefully we do, and if not, no big deal. We still want the chest rig if possible. So let's open this up. I'll tell you all about it and give you some ideas about what I have in this, and then we'll go all the way down to line 1. Okay, so this is the low-key chest rig from Victos, and honestly, I like it quite a bit. They tried to develop a capable chest rig that had a level of discretion to it, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to find a way to carry a pistol while out on a hike without having to have it on my waistline, which always interacts with your hip belt, while also having it concealed in order to not cause any issues with anybody who might be uncomfortable from that. So either way, this accomplished that goal quite well, and I actually integrated this into my bug out system because of how well it works. So first off, it's a very interesting attachment point. It uses something like an X harness that has padding on the very back, which I'll just show you real quick in case you can see it. And then it has a magnetic snap closure here on the side. So if you look at it, it just snaps right off like no problem. And then when you need to reattach it, it just pops on. And it's 100% secure, no issue at all. So I like this bag quite a bit. What's in the bag? Well, first off, it has a loop on the bottom for a tourniquet. So that's always good and beneficial to have. So we do have a little bit of medical here on this system. In the front pouch here, what's in here right now is kind of more of a placeholder or an example of what should be in here. But I don't have my overly detailed topo maps in here right now, but I do have a map. And this is just a map of North Dakota and South Dakota. And it'll definitely get me some idea as to where I'm heading. I can write on this map and everything else, but this is generally where I'd keep some maps and things like that, okay? So that's why I have that in there. I don't need to show all my topo maps here on YouTube. I give away enough of my OPSEC every single day. So what's in the next compartment? This is the fun one. Open this up, and what we have here, well, we have a Glock. So we have a pistol that's ready to be accessed very quickly. Now, this is a lot of extra weight. It may or may not be necessary. I could always just leave it out if I decide to, or I can have a pistol on me if I have to ditch the rifle. So that's why I have the pistol, because maybe I can't bring the rifle with me based on whatever's happening and it being too overt, but hopefully I can still keep the pistol in here, which allows me to then still have some form of self-defense, right? So if you can see here in the bag, it actually comes with a holster system right here, which has an elastic band that goes over the top of your slide, or in this case, the optic. So go ahead and pull out the Glock here so you can check it out. And then I'll show you inside, we also have an additional magazine right here, okay? So just 2 pistol mags, that's all. I have weight constraints. Am I going to have additional supplies at the bug out location? Of course. But if I don't make it there, I'll at least have the bare minimum for what I need to keep things up and running. And to me, although I'd like to have additional pistol mags, 2 is the bare minimum, and that's why I have that, okay? And then I also have a monocular in here, and this is a Vortex Solo RT. This is an 8X that has ranging and everything built into it. And I have that in here, and it fits perfectly, even with the Glock inside, and allows me to have additional viewing capabilities without having to remove my pack or anything like that. So that's what's in the main compartment. And then in the top here is where things get very interesting, because as you can see, we have magazines. So there's magazine pouches in here. These are standard AR-15 magazines, which is nice to have. And like I said, can help sustain that weapon system just like any other chest rig would, but without you telling everybody that that's what you have. So I do like that quite a bit. And then I also have my comms in here, which is just a Baofeng in all honesty. But you know what? This works. It does the job for what I want it to do. I've got all the charging components for it, and it fits in here perfectly with one of the stubby antennas. And then I also have a longer antenna in here too, in case I need to gain a little bit more range. So I've got all that in there, and it still zips up perfectly. And my suggestion is, if you were to buy something like this in order to house your magazines or your pistol, is you want to keep the zippers kind of like in the center towards the top, because doing this and then getting in there is much faster than trying to come all the way across from one side or the other. That's what I found anyway. So another thing that I want to mention, so real quick, I'll go ahead and just take this off to kind of demonstrate this for you. But I thought this was very cool. And look, these just pop right off. Like, very cool design, like it quite a bit. And I'll show you the straps here. Okay, so right here we have the back, which is padded and ventilated, so it's actually very comfortable. And then these straps are padded as well. So everything is padded. It makes a very comfortable carry. I like it quite a bit. And then this is where you would actually hook that shoulder strap on I showed you earlier to turn this into a shoulder bag. So if you didn't want it to look like a chest rig and you wanted it to be a little bit more discreet, you switch it over to a shoulder bag, and then people are generally less questioning of it. So I like having that ability as well. And then on the back here, there's actually a Velcro panel. So take this off, right? And then you have MOLLE webbing as well as Velcro, so you can attach other things to it if you'd like. And one thing that's very cool, which I wanted to mention, is that Premier Body Armor actually makes an armor panel for this. So let me show you how that works, because I find it to be very interesting. So this is the panel, right? And then we have the elastic or the Velcro right there, as well as the Velcro backing on this. So you can attach that right here. And now you've got 3A armor on this chest rig, which is very cool. And in fact, I have it upside down. So let's redo that. Okay, boom, 3A armor. And once it's against your body, it's pretty tight. So it's not gonna like be slipping and sliding around just because it's only attached by Velcro. And what else is cool is that you can pull this down, and then you actually can expand the armor to have more coverage. So as you can see, I have quite a bit of coverage now when it comes to level 3A armor. So I like having that ability, because I can armor myself if I decide it's worth the extra weight. Now, I don't have this integrated into the bug out system right now because it is additional weight. But if you wanted to have a chest rig in order to carry things around in the woods or out on a camp or whatever, if you're hiking, whatever it is, but you want to have a little bit more protection, this allows for that, which is kind of nice, especially because, you know, handguns are typically what you're going to run into in a lot of situations. Not to mention Premier Body Armor. There'll be links down below as well as a discount code, so make sure you check that out. But they even make panels that are big enough to fit inside the MilOps 80 plus 24 bag, which this does fit in there, and actually would then make back armor as well as front armor if you combine the two. So I like that capability. I think it's cool to have. I don't have it in the bug out system because I was really tight on weight, and that's why I use this low-key chest rig. I think it's very neat. I think it actually fills the purpose of carrying a pistol and some extra rifle mags, as well as a radio and some other things very, very well. So this is level 2. Let's get down just to bare bones level 1, and I'll kind of give you my roundabout thoughts and the total weight on this entire system. All right, so we are all the way down to line 1, and that is my 5 C's of survival bag. This is the first thing I put on and the last thing I would take off, because it has the bare minimum for everything you might need in a survival situation, and I don't want to get rid of it unless I absolutely have to. And of course, I have some EDC items in my pockets as well, but this bag has the 5 C's, which is very important. And it's why I wanted it to be the last thing I would possibly remove from the system, because it's really what you need regardless. And if you can't have this, then you really just shouldn't be going anywhere, I guess, right? So let's talk about the bag itself and what's inside of it so you can understand why this is such an important component and why I have it separate from everything else. Because if I have to ditch the ruck and I have to ditch the bailout bag and I have to ditch the chest rig, I really still want to hang on to this, like 100%. So let's open it up and I'll show you everything that's inside and why it's so important. And then I'll tell you exactly how much the entire system weighs. First and foremost, this is a Tasmanian Tiger modular hip bag 2. I like it quite a bit. It can be converted into a shoulder bag as well as into a fanny pack, and it's made out of Cordura, so it's plenty durable, and it has all the functionality I needed for this purpose. Right on top here, it has a single row of MOLLE webbing, which allowed me to mount my SE4 knife right to the top, which I like quite a bit. The SE4 is a solid survival knife, nothing wrong with it. It definitely does the job. Straight edge, easy to maintain blade, and it's high carbon steel, which means you can baton with it or whatever else you need to do. I like this knife quite a bit. It's not special, but it does the job. And mounting it here is nice because I can access the knife from wherever the bag is, whether or not it's on the fanny pack configuration or in the shoulder pack configuration. It allows me to get to it even while I'm wearing the backpack. So very good, and honestly one of the reasons why I need this bag on me pretty much no matter what. Now, on the front here we have a Velcro pouch. Right underneath there's some looping right here. And I have a Sharpie in case I need to use it for something like a tourniquet or for marking a location or who knows what else. And then I also have a Write in the Rain pen so that I can use that with my notepad. Then there's a couple of things I want to be able to access quickly right here in this pouch. First off, we've got some snacks. These are Lucky Charms. Why? Because they're the best. Anyway, we also have some water treatment. So in here I've got some water tablets, which is just in case my filters fail or who knows what else, and I just need to treat water without having to worry about it. Or possibly I filled up some of those large canteens in my backpack, but didn't have a chance to filter them, so I can actually start treating them now with the tablet. So it gives me options. And then this also has instant coffee as well as Propel electrolyte mixers. So that way I can kind of keep everything up and running when it either comes to necessary caffeine or replenishing my electrolytes. So got that in here too in order to treat the water. So I also have my Lensatic compass. So this is something I feel like I need to have on me no matter what. It allows me to navigate, obviously. And then I have it tethered to the bag right here to one of these loops. So that way I still have plenty of slack in order to use it however I need to, but I can also not worry about dropping it or losing it in case something were to happen. So this is important in order to navigate, especially if you're not using a map or something like that. It makes Lensatic compasses a little bit more valuable, at least, you know, from my experience, in order to use landmarks to navigate. So I like having this in here, and I also like the fact that I have it tethered and it's easily accessible. Now, I'll go ahead and drop that because I know I'm not going to lose it. In here is another zippered pouch. So we'll go ahead and open that up. And this is where I have a couple of things. So right here I've got my notepad, which is good to have, right? Then I also have, so this is a topo map, and this is just like a small example of it. But in here I would keep like a miniaturized version of a map in order to have some idea as to like what's in my area. Now, it won't be to scale when using your compass or something like that, but it allows me at least to have some kind of reference when it comes to navigation. So I think that's a good idea to have in here. And obviously this isn't like the map, but this is a good example of the map, and this is a topographic map. So throw that over here. I also have some fire starters, right? This is the 5 C's of survival. So as of so far, what you've seen in this bag, this is the first one that's going to be combustion, right? So I have mini Bics ready to go. This way I have multiple versions in the sense of having additional backups because, you know, 1 is none, 2 is 1, but also so I can switch these out in my pockets in case my EDC light breaks down or stops working. I have ones I can replenish it with. So I have this pack of mini Bics for that reason. So that's the first C. I've got combustion, which also matches up with my cotton balls soaked in petroleum here. So this is vacuum sealed so it doesn't get anything else messy or gross, but this allows me to have a quick fire starter if that time ever comes. And then I also have some batteries in here. These are just AAAs, and we'll talk about that here in just a second, but those are just backup batteries for one singular device that I have in this pack. Okay, now we'll move into the main pouch. All right, so on the top here, you actually get a lot of organization, and this is where we have another fire starter. So this is where we have a ferro rod, okay? And this is actually a relatively large ferro rod, so gives you a lot of strikes, of course. It probably won't last any less than, you know, your lifetime, but this gets me an additional fire starting source while also being wrapped in duct tape. So I have some way to make repairs or treat wounds or who knows what else. I have some duct tape here as well. So fire striker, ferro rod, good to go. And then I also have a utensil here. So you got to be able to eat, and this is my spork. It's titanium, very light, and it fits right in this part of the pack, no problem. Throw that over here. We've got cordage, and this is the other C, right? We need to be able to have some cordage in case we need to construct a shelter or do something along those lines. We have the ability to do so. So now we have 2 C's covered so far. Well, actually 3, because I forgot the knife is the cutting part. So 3 C's are covered. And then we have container, number 4. So this is the Grail Ultra Press 16.9 ounce titanium model. Now, this isn't as big as some of their other models, which is bad in the sense of less water, but it's good because it fits in this pack no problem. And what's cool about the titanium model is that it actually has a very cool function. When you remove the container portion that's connected to the filter, which filters the water, you have a titanium container, which is perfectly suited to heat up water, boil water, or cook in. So I have my cooking container and my water container here all in one in a very lightweight, small package. So this is something I was very excited about. These are really expensive. I think these are around like $200. They're pretty new on the market. But the titanium press is very cool. The Grail press in general, the technology here is very neat. 99.99% of everything gets removed from the water. This is charcoal activated filter. It's actually very impressive with how well it works. And what's nice is that you just put water in the container that's, dirty or, non-potable, and then you just push this in here on top of it, and it takes about 10 seconds, and you loosen the lid here right at the top, and you just push, and there's water in here right now, so it's not gonna work very well. But you push, and then it filters the water up through it and allows all that filtration to occur, and it only takes 10 seconds to get 16 ounces of purified water ready to go. So I find that to be beneficial. I have my cooking container, my water container, and my water filter all in one. This will filter up to 40 gallons worth of water. And then obviously I brought that backup filter in the bailout bag, so I actually have the capacity to do 80 gallons. And then I can always just use this as a container still and then use the Sawyer Mini or something like that in order to continue filtration down the road. So I really like this system quite a bit. And honestly, I'm a little thirsty right now. That felt amazingly good, because it's pretty hot out right now. It got really hot really fast all of a sudden, and I probably don't need this hoodie anymore. So I'm gonna set this down, and there is still more in this bag. So we have cutting, we have container, we have cordage, we have combustion, right? So we're still missing one, but we'll get there. I also have a headlamp in here. This is the Streamlight Clutch headlamp. I like it. It does the job of a headlamp. It is rechargeable, so I can use my solar panel as well as my power bank to recharge it. And then I have a hands-free lighting system, which can definitely come in handy. So this isn't necessary, but it's very handy, and it's always on my body and easy to get to, which means if it gets dark out, I can easily throw this on and start using it if I need to. So that's why that's in there. I also have a really rudimentary sharpener. I know you guys don't like these in general here in the bushcraft community, but this will get a knife sharp enough to get the job done. And I'm just trying to get from point A to point B. I'm not trying to live in the woods for like 30 days like these people on a loan. So look, man, this will do the bare minimum of getting the knife edge sharp enough to cut through some things. And then I can deal with a whetstone and everything else when I get to my location. So don't worry about it. I'm not trying to advocate for those. I'm just saying they're very lightweight and easy to have on you. All right. That's all that's in the main compartment. So let me grab my compass back here. See how convenient that is? Isn't that nice? Keep your stuff tethered, right? But there's one more thing I want to show you. So on the back here, there's another pouch. Okay, you can see it's made out of Cordura right here, very durable. But there's a pouch right here on the very back. Oh, and what's that? The last C of survival? That's right, we have cover. So in here, I've got a 55-gallon, I think it's 6 mil thick contractor bag. This can do a lot. I mean, you can use this for cover. You can use this to make a makeshift shelter. You can use this to fill it with leaves and pine needles or whatever else you can find in the sense of debris to create a insulated floor between you and the ground. There's a lot of things you can do with a bag like this. Not to mention just grabbing and carrying more stuff if you need to. So this is my cover in many ways, but I have some redundancy here to make this cover a little bit more feasible. Now, is this as good as like an actual 10 or a bivy or anything like that? Of course not. But could it do the basic bare minimum job? It can. So that is covered here. So contractor bag. I also have a poncho, just a really cheapo emergency poncho. They weigh nothing, but they can do the job. So there you go, some more cover in order to get out of the elements. which also can be makeshift changed into some type of actual shelter if need be. I also have an emergency blanket, which we all know, is just something you gotta have. So this gives me a Mylar blanket, which allows me to avoid hypothermia, get out of shock, or at the bare minimum, just stay warm in a makeshift shelter through a cold night. So yes, we do have covered in this 5 C's of survival bag, which I really, really like quite a bit. Let's see, I also have a gaiter. And then this is also, going to double as a bandana, and I can use it to, obscure my identity if we ever find ourselves in a situation where that becomes important. So not to mention what else you can use bandana for. So there you go. And very important, a pack of wet wipes, because we're talking about maybe not having the backpack anymore. I still want to be able to clean myself up after using the bathroom, right? So these are in there. That's everything in the 5 C's of survival bag. So pretty awesome. I like this bag quite a bit. I worked very hard at making sure it made sense. Let's go ahead and talk about the entire package, how much it weighs, and I'll just give you my final thoughts. But this is what I put together. These are the systems that I have in place for a bug out scenario where I have to leave on foot. And it's not very light, but it is doable. All right, so that's the total bug out bag system, line 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the entire ruck itself. And I know the big question is going to be, how much does it all weigh? Well, when you add in everything, and I mean everything, including the rifle, the spare rifle magazines, which there are 4, the Glock, the spare Glock mag, the water, the food, all the stuff that I showed you in this video ends up weighing 81 pounds. Now, that is pretty heavy, and obviously it's going to slow you down, but could be heavier, so I tried my best to get it down without sacrificing too much capability. But at the same time, that's also why I developed these systems, in order to shed weight if I absolutely need to. I want to get to where I'm going with as much capability as possible. But if that's not feasible, now I have the ability to get rid of some weight and still maintain some capability along the way. And that was my entire goal here. And don't forget, you do need to have your EDC, which I definitely have. So yes, I have a flashlight, Surefire Stiletto. This is a great handheld light in case it's something you're missing out on. Make sure you have a flashlight as your EDC. This will all be integrated into the kit. I do carry a mini Bic lighter just about everywhere I go in my coin pocket. So I have that. I also have a Leatherman mutt, which is a very capable multi-tool, which is why I didn't see one in the kit, because it is on my person. Okay. And then I also have a Medford Praetorian, which is an insanely crazy large pocket knife, but you know what? What's nice about this thing is that if my fixed blade goes down, or if I end up losing it, this thing can do the job of a fixed blade, no problem. So got that. And then I also have miniature bare minimum IFAK kit. This is basically the bare minimum you need for a trauma kit. So in here, you've got a pressure bandage, you've got some quick clot hemostatic gauze, and then you also have some gloves. So it's something better than nothing, but it's in my pocket. So better than nothing, like I said. And then I always have a tourniquet, which is just an SOFT tourniquet. So it just fits in the pocket better than the Gen 7s, but it's not as good of a tourniquet in all honesty for ease of use. And then I also carry a map compass. So EDC, you should have that integrated, but I wanted to make that quick reminder. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that this is a feasible system? 81 pounds, but we're talking about including the rifle and everything else with that. I don't find it to be that absurd, but maybe it is to you. So let me know all your thoughts down below. If there's anything in this bag that could have been lighter or done differently, or if there's things that I overlooked, I would love to hear that feedback, because it really did help me with this system, which means whatever I do next, if I need to make any changes, will even be that much better. So if you need anything else from me, go to magicprepper.com. It's always a good resource. And like I said, there'll be links down below in the description, as well as in the pinned comment, for some discounts, as well as some of the companies that I work with. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.